Good morning. We're going to continue Joshua. We're going to read Joshua 10, 16 through 28. And it's not happy reading, but read and pause me and read. Okay. So these 5 kings that decided they were going to defeat Joshua and they need to come together, hightailed it out of there and fled and hid in a cave at Makkedah. I think that's how you say it. And you don't know whether there's anybody in there with them, but you almost get the impression it's just the 5 of them. And they left everybody else to whatever, you know. And so they told Joshua. Joshua had returned to the camp in verse 15, which we read yesterday. Joshua had returned to the camp. Now remember, he's exhausted. He had traveled all that way with no sleep, and then they had the battle. So he had returned to camp and was kind of overseeing what he thought might have been the end of things from there. And then he got this word. So he says, put the rocks in front of the mouth of the cave, so what they thought was a sanctuary, what they thought was safety, became their prison. And be careful where you run, it can become a prison to you. But don't stop. Keep pursuing these guys, because the other soldiers, because we don't want these other soldiers to get to the fortified cities and thereby make those armies bigger. We want to get them now. So pursue these guys with due diligence and get them, the other soldiers. And so, and by get them, I mean kill them. So they did, and but a few of them reached their fortified cities. And then the whole army returned to Joshua, and they were in a camp at Makkedah again. So Joshua has now left Gilgal and gone to Makkedah, and throughout the region, nobody's saying anything bad about the Israelites. Don't want to be on those guys' bad side. So they, Joshua said to open the mouth of the cave, and they did that, and they put their feet on their necks, which was kind of a common humiliation, which humiliation was very common back then. Humiliation of your enemies. That was kind of the way things were done. And so he killed them, and he impaled them, and he hung them on a tree. That's pretty humiliating. And so the kings around the area are, I would step down myself. But anyway, so at sunset, Joshua ordered that they come down. And that goes back to Deuteronomy 21:22, where that's one of the orders, that nobody is left hanging on a tree after sunset. That's one of God's orders. It's one of the 613 commandments. And he knew that this day was coming. So they took the bodies and they put them back in the cave. And then he totally destroyed Makkedah. And Joshua is building up quite the name and reputation for being victorious under God's name. So God had ordered this, and Joshua is just carrying out his orders. And we have to remember that the times were different, and that these people were wicked and sinful, and very much not worshiping or close to worshiping God, worshiping idols. So God will, justice will happen. So the lesson for today is back to the cave. Be careful where you run for sanctuary, because it may end up being your prison.